In my last video, I showed you 4 countries where $300 a month covers your basic living costs, and thousands of you watched it. Today I'm going one step further. These 5 countries don't just cover your basics for $400 a month, they actually give you a life that feels good. Real food, real shelter, real comfort, at a price that will make everything you're spending right now feel completely ridiculous. And I want to be clear about something before we start. Every number I give you today has been verified from real expat data in 2026. No exaggeration, no clickbait math. If I say $400 a month, I mean it is genuinely possible, not in theory, but in practice, for real people living there right now. When people think of cheap countries in South America, they jump straight to Colombia or Peru. Almost nobody mentions Bolivia, and that is exactly the mistake you should take advantage of. Bolivia is a country of dramatic contrasts. High-altitude cities surrounded by Andean mountain ranges. Salt flats so vast and so white they look like they belong on another planet. And a cost of living so low it genuinely shocks people when they see the numbers. A real US expat named Nathan is living comfortably in Bolivia's city of Sucre on well under $1,000 a month. His furnished one-bedroom apartment, including all utilities costs, just $200 a month, and his entire food budget for the month comes in around $220. One-bedroom apartments across Bolivia's major cities typically fall between $200 and $500. Local bus fares run just 30 cents to $1 per ride, and a typical lunch out costs about $3.44. The honest reality of Bolivia is that it is not a polished destination. Infrastructure is basic in places. Altitude takes adjustment, especially in La Paz, which sits at 3,640 meters above sea level, and not everything runs smoothly. But for someone who genuinely wants to stretch $400 a month into a complete, unhurried, culturally rich life in South America, Bolivia is sitting right there, almost completely ignored, waiting to be discovered. The next country is one that almost every traveler falls in love with the moment they land, and the moment they check their bank account at the end of the month, they fall in love all over again. Vietnam has been on people's radar for years, but most people still massively underestimate how far your money actually goes here when you stop trying to recreate a Western life and just lean into the country itself. The street food culture alone is worth the move. A steaming bowl of pho, a fresh banh mi, a full plate of rice and grilled meat. Each meal costs between $1 and $3, and if you eat like a local, your entire food bill easily stays under $200 a month. A studio apartment in a Vietnamese neighborhood away from the expat areas runs $250 to $400 a month, and a local bus ride costs just a few cents, making daily transport almost free. Vietnam also has something that very few affordable countries can offer: fast internet, a growing digital infrastructure, and a genuinely exciting energy in its cities that makes daily life feel stimulating rather than quiet or slow. The key to keeping costs low here is simple: eat locally, live locally, and resist the pull of the international restaurants and imported grocery stores that will quietly drain your budget if you let them. Do that, and $400 a month in Vietnam is not just possible, it is genuinely comfortable. Now, this next one is the most unexpected country on the entire list, because it is in Europe. And no, that is not a mistake. Here is something that most people outside of Europe don't know. Albania is currently the cheapest country on the entire European continent, and it is sitting on the Adriatic Sea with turquoise water, Ottoman-era old towns, and a food culture built around fresh seafood and grilled meat that costs almost nothing. A single person in Albania needs approximately €522 a month for a comfortable lifestyle, monthly groceries average around €120, and a 3-bedroom apartment costs approximately €450 a month. A 1-bedroom apartment in Tirana's city centre runs between $250 and $500 a month, with groceries and transport staying between $100 and $200. What makes Albania genuinely urgent is a detail that most videos about cheap living completely ignore. Albania is currently in the process of joining the European Union, and history shows very clearly what happens to a country's prices the moment EU accession gets closer. Croatia, Romania, the Baltics, every single one of them became significantly more expensive within a few years of joining. Albania in 2026 is the window. The people who move there now are getting the deal. The people who wait 5 years will be looking at Portugal prices, wondering why they didn't act sooner. The next country is one that most of your friends have never even heard of, and that is exactly why it belongs on this list. Uzbekistan. Say it out loud and most people will look at you blankly, but this Central Asian country sitting at the crossroads of the ancient Silk Road is quietly one of the most extraordinary places on Earth, and one of the cheapest. The architecture alone is worth the trip. The city of Samarkand has UNESCO-listed mosques and mausoleums that date back to the 14th century, with tilework so intricate and so blue it looks like something from a fairy tale, and it costs almost nothing to live there. Rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Tashkent, the capital, sits between $200 and $400 a month. Street food and local market meals cost $1 to $3, and public transport is so cheap that getting around the city barely registers on your monthly budget. The country has also been opening up dramatically over the past few years. New infrastructure, simplified visas for most nationalities, and a tourism sector that is just beginning to discover what it has. Getting there ahead of that wave is exactly the kind of decision that people look back on years later and say they wish they had made sooner. And now the final country. The one that is going to surprise you the most on this list. Because when you hear where it is, your brain is immediately going to say, there is no way that's cheap. And then I'm going to show you the numbers. Most people treat Morocco like a screensaver. They fly in, take the photos, eat the tagine, and leave without ever realizing they just walked past one of the most affordable lives on Earth. What almost nobody realizes is that Morocco is one of the most genuinely livable, affordable countries in the world right now, sitting just 14 kilometers from Spain across the Strait of Gibraltar, with a Mediterranean climate, a food culture that is among the richest and most varied on the planet, and a cost of living that will make any European feel like they found a cheat code. Budget-conscious baseline monthly expenses for a single person in Morocco come in at around $544 a month, including rent, and a one-bedroom apartment in suburban neighborhoods of cities like Rabat or Fes costs between €140 and €280 a month, which is less than many people pay for a parking space in London or Paris. A meal at a local restaurant costs between 30 and 100 Moroccan dirhams, roughly $3 to $10, and public bus or tram fares range from just 4 to 10 dirhams per journey. Morocco also gives you something that none of the other 4 countries on this list can offer: proximity to Europe, meaning that flights home are short, cheap, and frequent. You are not disappearing to the other side of the world. You are one easy flight from everywhere, living at a fraction of the cost, in a country with ancient Medinas, Sahara desert sunsets, and Atlantic coastline that people pay thousands to visit for a week. 5 countries, 5 completely different lives, and every single one of them available to you right now in 2026 for around $400 a month, if you are willing to live locally and take the decision seriously. Drop in the comments which country you're most curious about. I read every single one, and the most requested country gets its own full dedicated video next. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.